Hello, Algebra 2A, and welcome back to day 3 of lesson 38. Today we are going to look at a concept called the remainder theorem. Remainder theorem is if our remainder equals 0, then the divisor is a factor of the polynomial. So if we look at a problem like 5 going into 225, we would see that 5 goes into 22 4 times, and 5 goes into 25 5 more times, but the ultimate thing we see here is that the remainder is 0. If the remainder is 0 when we're dealing with numbers, that means that 5 goes in evenly. It's a factor of that dividend, 225. Same thing with polynomials. If x plus 5 goes into the dividend, 8x to the third, so on and so forth, that means that it is a factor of that polynomial. And then we can divide out x plus 5, and we're down to a quadratic, and we can start looking to factor that quadratic, because we only can really factor quadratics. That's what we've been practicing in lessons 23, 28, 31, and 37 just recently. So if we can get that remainder of 0, that's going to mean that we have a factor. So we are going to divide this polynomial like we've been doing, and then paying attention at the end what the remainder is, and then that'll be our answer, yes or no, is it a factor? So recall from the previous 2 days that we've been doing long division. We're trying to match x, multiply x to get to 8x to the third. So we take a look at, we got to get x to multiply to 8x to the third. That's going to be 8x squared. So we put an 8x squared right here. 8x squared gets distributed to both terms in the binomial divisor. So 8x to the third plus 40x to the second, because that would take 8 times 5, which is 40. Now we're ready to subtract. So we'll take subtract everything there. We go 37 minus 40 would be negative 3x squared, and then bring down our next term. There we've completed one cycle. Next, we'll take a look at trying to get x to multiply to negative 3x squared. Well, that will be negative 3x. Multiply that, we get negative 3x squared. Distribute to the 5, we get negative 15x. Now be careful with these negatives. So I'm taking negative 11 minus negative 15. Really, that's going to be negative 11 plus 15, which gives me 4x plus 20. Then what could I multiply x by to get to 4x? That would be 4. 4 times x is there is my 4x. And 4 times 5 is 20. Now you're maybe seeing, oh, everything is matching up. This will be very similar to what we saw in day 1 when we were doing our first day of long division on Delta Math. But everything matched up. We get that remainder of 0. And if we get a remainder of 0, that's going to mean, yes, this is a factor of the polynomial 8x cubed plus 37x squared minus 11x plus 20. Then the remaining polynomial in your quotient, 8x squared minus 3x plus 4, that could be looked at and tried to factor out even more. Let's take a look at example 2. Example 4, part B. We've got x. Again, we're trying to get x. We're trying to always match it to this very first term as we go through. So we'll take a 4x squared, multiply that by x. That would be 4x cubed. 4 times 6 then would be 24x squared. Excellent. Now we can take and subtract. Once we do that, we'll get an 11x squared plus 73x comes down. Again, x to multiply to 11x squared, I would need to multiply by an 11x. That's going to make 11x squared. And plus 66x. Subtract again. We don't need to worry about the first 2 terms. We canceled those out. 73 minus 66 gives me 7x. Bring down a 150. Next, I've got a x I'm trying to multiply to get to 7x. That's going to be plus 7. 7 times x is 7x. 7 times 6 is plus 42. And here we can see that when we subtract this, we're going to end up getting a remainder of, looks like 108. Since it has a remainder of 108, that one would be no. It's not going to be a factor. We can still divide it. We can still get an answer, but it is not going to be a factor of the polynomial 4x to the third plus 35x squared plus 73x plus 150. So today we will continue practicing level 3 and just paying attention to if you get a remainder, that would mean that the polynomial you're dividing is not a factor. The divisor is not a factor of the dividend. And if you do get 0 for your remainder, that would mean that you have a factor. Your divisor would be a factor of your polynomial. And we'll continue to visit this idea as we continue investigating throughout the rest of the year. You are now ready for day 3 assignment, and you can head to practice, and good luck, and we'll see you next time.